Hi, Molly.
Hi, Abby.
Welcome to our studio.
So beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, this conversation is kind of a long time in the making, but also we talk all the time. So I know how many things you have to share. So I'm gonna pick on those things.
Okay.
Let's start. You're the founder, and I will already have told people. So this is the second time you're hearing, but you're the founder of Life After Birth, and we're gonna talk about the origin of that, of you founding that company. But I really wanted to start with your path to motherhood. Did you always want to be a mom?
I think so. Yeah.
Is there a point when you were dating your husband, your now husband, that did you guys talk about it? Were you on the same page, or did you just sort of go with the flow?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. So we got married when I was in grad school still. And I'm kind of a more methodical, recovering type A person. So I was like, I just want to finish grad school before we start trying. And then when I finished grad school, I was like, I want to finish my hours before we start trying. I just wanted to kind of get that done before I started trying. I think he was ready sooner than I was, but I was just kind of on a professional trajectory. And then after I got my hours, I think we started trying maybe a little over a year later. Yeah.
Were you worried at all age-wise, or you felt confident?
I feel like there was some infertility anxiety in the collective, just so many stories that I've heard, and just also the mystery of, will this happen for me? You know, we spend our, all right, it's safe to assume, I think we spend our adult sexual life trying not to get pregnant.
Right.
And so when we do try to get pregnant, we don't always know what exactly to do or what that entails, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I was a little bit concerned. Yeah.
And so ultimately you get pregnant. How was your pregnancy?
I would say my pregnancy was pretty good overall. I was really sick for the first 4 months, and I'm a person that loves movement and yoga, but I just couldn't do anything the first 4 months. And I was working at Promises Treatment Center at the time. I used to work in drug and alcohol treatment, and I just remember between clients, I would just lie down on the couch and just be like, oh, because I was so sick.
Hard. That's so hard.
Yeah.
'Cause you have to give so much of yourself to each client.
Yes.
Did you choose recovery, that sort of therapy, for a reason?
Yeah, definitely. I have loved ones who are in recovery.
Okay.
And so I had a family member who was in treatment. And when we did family therapy, I really fell in love with like the program and wanted to be on the other side of the couch and try to help other family members. I feel like when there's something like a crisis in the family, sometimes with addiction, it can crack the family open in a really beautiful way and offer the opportunity to heal. So I was like, this is, so yes, it was something personal in my life. So I felt really called to help with that.
And to that point, like, let's rewind even a little bit, because you were in grad school when you got married. What did you think you were going to do before you went to grad school? Because you chose your profession a little bit later, right?
Yes. I feel like, so I was in my late 20s when I went back to grad school. But I think when I was even as young as high school, I always kind of felt like this might be something I want to do. I was always interested in psychology. I've always been a sensitive soul. So it was kind of a seed in me, but I did take a break I took a 6-year break between undergrad and grad school. So I did work in other professions before I went to grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have your pregnancy, you have your baby, and I feel like that's sort of when things took a turn for you.
Yes.
So can you talk to us about that?
Yes, for sure. So you asked me, did you want to be a mother? I said, yeah, I think so. I think for me, it was just kind of arbitrary. It was like, oh, I want to check the box of like having a kid and they can just be part of my life, But as you and I both know, when you have a child or children, it just like can turn your world upside down. So for me, when like the pregnancy and the birth, I would say went pretty well with like a few bumps in the road, but I had some trauma in my birth, and then I had a confluence of different factors that contributed to postpartum depression. So my after birth was very like fraught with a lot of challenges.
Did it happen right away?
I would say the onset of my symptoms were about 3 weeks after birth. Mm-hmm.
Did you have help in those 3 weeks?
I did.
Okay.
So I had help, and I would say there was a strong correlation from when the help dropped off, when my symptoms set in.
Do you think because obviously you needed more help, so there was that correlation, but do you also think that maybe you were faking it a little bit because you had somebody around? Or do you think it was literally the lack of help triggered more in you than you were expecting?
I think it was the latter. I really think if I would have just had the same degree of support, I think it could have prevented some of the risk factors and some of the circumstances that contributed to the PPD.
As it was coming, were you able to recognize what was going on?
Not initially. I think my husband was better at it than me. I think he'd known me we'd been together a long time before we became parents. And so he knew I, have a sensitivity to hormonal shifts. And I think he could tell something wasn't okay. So it wasn't until I had a complication about 6 weeks after birth, right when you're supposed to get cleared for all the things.
Yeah.
So we had to go back to my provider, and while I was in the waiting room filling out some paperwork, she gave me the test to kind of figure out if I had any depression symptoms.
Do you remember what that was?
I think
like a test you filled out, or did she talk to you about it?
It was a test you filled out. Yes, the name's escaping me right now, but it's a standard test for depression. And before she even addressed the medical issue that was going on with me, when we got a chance to talk, she was like, "I'm concerned about your mood." So she was the one that flagged me for postpartum depression, and my husband reflected back to her what he had been seeing. For me, it's just like I knew something wasn't right, but I also had never had a baby before, so I thought maybe it was normal. But it wasn't. So that was like the flag.
So she didn't like diagnose officially she didn't call it anything. She just said, "I'm concerned about your mood."
I'm trying to remember if she diagnosed. I think she
might have said.
I think she said she's a midwife, and I think she was like, I don't remember now, but I'm pretty sure she alluded to postpartum depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you take it?
I think it was like, I think I felt kind of seen, but it was also kind of sad, because even though I'm a mental health provider, there's so much stigma around like mental health when you have a baby. I just didn't think it was going to be me. I didn't want it to be me. So I think it was hard to hear, but it was also a little crack of like, okay, maybe if I get some help, I'll feel better,
Mm-hmm. And did you have the tools to get help? Like, I'm just thinking about, like, I mean, you and I know each other personally. So your husband's sister, for example, is a pediatrician.
Yeah.
She was my pediatrician postpartum.
Yeah.
So she was the person checking in with me to see if I was okay.
Yeah.
Were you able to rely on those sort of supports, or did you keep it more to yourself? And was that because of shame or stigma, or just you didn't know how to handle it?
I think I had so much shame. I didn't want to admit it to anyone else, even myself.
Yeah.
It was just so much shame, because I think I was so excited about, the pregnancy and the birth and the baby. I just was like, it was a really hard pill to swallow. And so, I wasn't reaching out for support.
So where did you once she diagnosed you, what did you do? And by the way, were you nursing at that point?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think makes everything 20 times harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every way. The hormonal shift, the parenting, the fear of failure, the stigmas that if you stop to take care of yourself, even for a minute, you're going to ruin the entire pattern of feeding. And
Yes.
It's very sad and scary.
For sure. And I had a small baby who was exclusively breastfeeding. So it was like a lot of sleep disruption, which can exacerbate a depressed mood. So I think I was in a traditional mommy and me around that time, but I found it particularly alienating because I was not doing well, and everything was like, there just wasn't a lot of space to talk about what was really going on. It was all like swaddles and sleep schedules and this and that, and everyone else seemed to be okay. And I was like, I felt worse when I would go to these mommy and me classes. So I didn't find it there. And I had reached out, I had got some referrals for different therapists, but it was like kind of like dead ends. And I was also so depressed. It's like when you're really depressed, it's hard to like advocate for yourself, and
you're like in the hole and you can't really crawl out.
Exactly.
Is how I always think of it.
100%. Yeah. You know, for those of you listening who've ever been depressed, I'm sorry. And you probably understand how it's like, I sometimes think of it as like being underwater and like everything else is above the surface and happening. So it was like, it was really hard to get the help because it wasn't really set up for me.
Yeah.
So I would say kind of how I started to climb out of the hole was I have a rabbi friend who is like a spiritual counselor, and she was a person I called for help. So
you already knew her.
I already knew her, and we had a relationship.
Great.
And I had been doing groups with her and individual. So I feel like we had a really strong bond. And so I reached out to her, and she was the first person that kind of helped me admit to myself that I wasn't okay. And she encouraged me to start telling close friends that I wasn't okay, which seemed kind of radical at the time. Now I'm like, why wasn't I? But at the time there was just so much shame because I had never really been close to anyone who had gone through what I went through. And so I just didn't know it was okay to feel how I was feeling.
By the way, even as a mental health professional.
I know. And it, like, as I'm saying it, I even feel like, wow, that's me almost 10 years ago. How, like, you know, but when you're in it, you're in it, you know? So she encouraged me to start reaching out to friends, and saying, you know, I wasn't okay. And then, so it was just like, that was the day that I started to get better. And when
you reach out? Did you do it?
I did.
And did you just call people and say, I need to let you know I'm not okay?
I think I just texted. And I just was like, I'm not doing okay. And then, of course, people show up.
Right.
You know, your real friends and support system show up. And I you know, called my mom and had her come back. You know, I'm not okay.
Did she know it was getting bad, or she didn't know? Were you pretending everything was fine until you told her things aren't great?
Probably. Yeah. Probably just kind of like, I don't know, just trying to like take care of the baby. And
I know I'm asking all these questions, but it's like such a fog that you're living in.
But it's good questions. It's kind of, it's taking me back to remember. But I think I just kind of, I kept a lot of it to myself, which is sad.
I mean, I think about that in terms of my infertility, that for a long time I kept it to myself because no one was talking about it. And that started to feel like a full-time job in itself. What if I accidentally say something? What if they don't know what I'm talking about? What if I spill the beans, right? And then once I started talking about it, it was like such a relief.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yes.
You must have, especially if people started showing up for you.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did your help look like as you started seeking outside help?
So I would say a big piece of the puzzle was we hired a nanny part-time just to help out.
Yeah.
Because I just needed another person there. And I think for me, the isolation and the loneliness was like a killer. So I found this amazing nanny, and she was just a godsend. So I feel like she was a big piece of the puzzle. And then, just reaching out to friends and having them just like know that I needed some extra support, that really helped. And then,
were you given any medication or anything?
You know, at that time, again, I have compassion for myself almost 10 years ago that like, I didn't want to go on medication at the time. I was still very much in the yoga holistic world, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but I was just worried there was going to be trace amounts that got to the baby. And, So I did see a naturopath. She was another person, like another kind of North Star for me during that time. So she helped me kind of take supplements and do more natural things to help with some of the depletion that I was feeling, and helped me get back on track. So that was a big piece of the puzzle too.
Do you think, looking back now, 10 years ago, would you have gone on a different course of medication?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because I think she did help me at that period of time. And I guess that's what I needed to do at that time. Had she not been able to help, then I maybe would have tried something else. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
How long do you feel like it took you to climb out of this hole?
Yeah, I would say about maybe like 9 months after birth, I started to feel a little bit better. And that's when I started to go back to work. So I had the luxury of not returning to work, you know, at 3 months or whatever it is that we're supposed to do after birth. And I didn't feel ready until 9 months. But had I had to go back at 3 months, I would have made it work. And some people actually can feel better in a way by having that structure and like having that outlet. But yes, it was at around 9 months after birth when I felt called to start supporting new moms.
New moms. Oh, so does that happen right away? You didn't go back to recovery?
No, I let go of my job, I think, in the spring of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wasn't in the capacity to go back. And I also felt like, as much as I loved working in treatment, it just felt kind of intense for being a new mom.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Being around so much trauma day in and day out.
But you were a licensed therapist at that point, so you could sort of tailor to whatever you wanted.
Yep.
And you were like, I'm going to pivot.
Yep.
And how did it begin? That wasn't the founding of Life After Birth right away.
It was.
Was it right away?
It was the seed.
Okay,
yeah.
that was a seed for sure.
Yes.
How did it turn into what it is now?
Yes. So what I would say is when I was pregnant, I was doing circles with Paula Malice, who's a doula, and she was starting this new center called WMN, or Women's Space, in Culver City in January 2017. And I had my baby at the end of 2016. And when I started to feel better and started to get some ideas for Life After Birth, I contacted her and I was like, I want to run a circle at your space. And she was like, yes, come.
Had you ever run circles before?
I'd run groups before at the treatment centers,
yeah.
like women's circles and other kind of treatment-oriented circles or groups, you know. But I just had this strong vision to create kind of a counterpart to Mommy and Me groups that focus more on the baby, or more on the mother.
More on the mommy.
Less on the
Yes,
baby.
yes.
No offense to the baby, but believe me, the babies get their
Plenty.
needs met.
Yes.
And moms don't.
Right.
So I wanted to focus more on the mom.
Okay. So that's how you started, just facilitating circles.
Yes.
And it was it immediately apparent that there was this need?
I felt like there was a clear vision for what I wanted to create. And Women's Space had a lot of women and moms coming through it. So they helped me build it. But it was a slow build in the beginning. And at that time, I was just, well, actually, ever since kind of fall of 2017 when I started, I just felt really passionate about learning anything I could about perinatal mental health and new moms and all of that. So I just wanted to do all I could to specialize in this field.
Can you define for us what perinatal mental health includes?
Yeah. So perinatal includes pregnancy and postpartum.
Okay.
So, and the reason why the term is often used is because a lot of mental health issues can begin in pregnancy and not just postpartum.
I love it. Mm-hmm. So were you starting to feel pressure at that point? Your business is going great. You're clear in your direction. Your mind is feeling better. You're getting into your routine with baby, to have another? Or did anyone else ask you if you wanted to have another? Did your husband ask you if you want to have another? Was this conversation starting?
I mean, I think I remember what was happening when my daughter was starting to do like Mommy and Me, like what do they call it? Like at like different preschools when they start to do things to kind of court you to be in their preschool, like those, not like the mommy and me groups like after birth, but like the parent and me
parent
kind of,
and me to come to the school and do it in the school.
Those kind of classes, or just like things at preschools. I noticed other people sharing that they were pregnant
with their second.
When my daughter was like a toddler, I'm gonna have some water too.
Yes. Gotta keep those vocal cords. Mine are still, recovering.
Yes. But it has like a cute raspiness.
Yes. Thank you.
So I would say everyone started to have their second. It seemed like I was kind of in the minority that was like having a toddler and no.
Were you noticing? Like, were you just like, oh, people are moving forward and I'm not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was very aware. And
by the way, you were moving forward. I don't mean to insult that you were not.
No.
But you know what I mean? That they were moving on to expanding their families.
Totally. Yeah. Yes. And for me, I feel like even though I got a handle on kind of the hurdle of like after birth that I went through, it wasn't like motherhood was easy for me. And I definitely felt a resurgence of depression when my daughter was closer to 2.5. And it was the confluence of the nanny who was that vital piece leaving to do doula work, my daughter starting preschool, her age or developmentally that 2.5 kind of on par toddler behavior, all of that coming together. That's when I kind of developed another wave of depression, which I wouldn't really call postpartum depression. It was just like another wave of depression. Yeah. Straight up depression. So that was a piece too. It was like another like mental health hurdle. And at that time I did choose to go on an antidepressant. So great. I moved over to the wisdom of Western medicine and can now say like both can work. Some works better for others. It's like, so I'm very open about the Eastern and Western medicine and a place for both. So, so that was going on. And then the pandemic hit. Yes. Oh. And my daughter was 3 and change. So, there's all that going on. And then to answer your question of like, were other people asking? Of course. Yeah. People always are asking the questions, as you know, of like, and it's just, casual, well-meaning.
They think they're saying the right thing.
Of like, oh, when are you getting married? When are you having a baby? When are you having a second?
When are you giving this one a sibling?
Yes, totally. So getting all that, but kind of feeling like far from that. And then I will say, during the pandemic, we have a back house that had kind of become storage over the past 3 years of like baby stuff. You know how that goes. Accumulation. And at the time, my husband and I were trying to figure out, okay, how are we both going to work from home? How is this going to happen? And he was like, I think we need to get rid of all this baby stuff because it's just, we need a place to work, And I think for me, there was a part of me that was holding on to the idea of maybe having a second. For me, it never, I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the impulse to want a second or to feel like things were aligned in my life and in my mental health to welcome in a second. But it was when we cleared out the back house and got rid of all the baby stuff, I feel like I personally kind of grieved that maybe that would never happen. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's, I'll pause there for a sec. I don't know if you have any more questions.
Well, did your husband? Did you grieve it? Did you articulate the grief, or were you just sort of personally going through it?
I was just personally going through it. And I think we were both kind of in survival with the pandemic and having like a 3-year-old and trying to survive and work and everything. So I think I personally kind of quietly grieved it, but I think the idea was still alive for him,
So, so how did you navigate that piece of it, I guess?
Of being on different pages?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when did it did you have a conversation about it? I mean, at some point you must have.
Yeah. I mean, definitely in couples therapy,
Yeah.
you know, having to process it and our different feelings about it. And yeah, I think
It felt like the safe space to say what you were feeling.
Yes. And for us to kind of have to be on different pages about the choice to grow our family. And I think you probably hear this in the work that you do with fertility, which, not to stereotype, but I think generally it can be reversed, where the woman wants to either they're in primary fertility,
right,
and the woman maybe wants to go to all ends of the earth to get that baby, or if they're dealing with secondary infertility, and maybe the woman wants to go to all ends of the earth to get that second baby, and maybe the man's like, really, this is expensive, look at what it's doing to you, and like, you know, you see it kind of in the reverse generally, but yeah, for us it was the reverse, you know, of what's maybe typical. So, you know, I think it's still a tender spot for us. But I think, you know, we're just, you know, content with having our daughter.
And so you and I have used the phrase "one and done."
Yes.
Because we know each other and can do that. Does it trigger you if someone says that to you?
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Do you think it triggers him?
Maybe.
We'll find out after this episode.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm sure it's still kind of tender, because I think that's the challenging thing when you're in a partnership and not fully having the same vision for things or the same feelings on things. Certain phrases can land harder than others, you know?
Yeah.
I think for me, since I feel complete with one, and have grieved it. I don't really get rubbed the wrong way by certain phrases, or if people still ask, you know, about more. I do think, you know, even though I'm content with my decision, of course there's certain things every now and then that, you know, if my life was different and circumstances were different, what would it be like to have another child? What would the dynamic be? What would they look like? What would they act like? You know? But yeah, there's just a lot of factors that feel more aligned for our family to be complete as it is.
Yeah. I think especially within the fertility community, especially for secondary infertility, there is a lack of feeling complete with one. How do you feel like how did you cater to that need to feel that completion, and what worked for you?
Yeah, I would say it's, you know, it's hard because I feel like it's kind of counterculture to have one.
Yeah.
There is this kind of, I remember I played with Barbies when I was a kid, and there was these Barbies, and I used to love Barbies. There was these Barbies that was like the Barbie Ken, and they had a boy and a girl, 2 kids, and they called them the Heart family. And it just felt like, oh, that's completion, you know, to have like the 2 kids. Yeah. It just kind of felt like the American way, like the standard. So it's definitely like, feels like an uphill stream to have one. It almost feels close to what I imagine the stigma of being a woman and not having children, whether it's by choice or not by choice. But having to confront that, oh, you don't have children? Like, people kind of do that when you have one. Oh, just one? You know, there's like, people are very, you know, it feels like they're waiting for something else. I will say something that helped is there's a book called One and Only, and it's written by a woman who's an only child, who has an only child, and she researches and debunk some of the myths about only children, and kind of talks about how in pop culture they portray only children as like kind of the weird character, or like the bad seed, or like the brat, or like, you know, and she kind of goes through and debunks that. So I feel like that kind of can help arm you with some of the stats. So when people make comments or silently judge, you can know what the truth is.
Sure.
yeah, so I feel like that helps. And for me personally, it helps that my daughter has never asked for a sibling.
I was going to ask that next.
And her personality is that she's like, Mom, she's like, I just want all the love for me.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
so sweet.
And she's like, she's
good with it.
She's good with it. So I think it would probably be harder if she was asking for a sibling or really wanted one. I will say I have a lot of friends that have only children too.
Yeah.
Or I have friends who my daughter's close with their oldest, who is kind of the closest to an only child in a way, that personality type. So I do have a lot of friends with kids, and we kind of, I call their kids rent a sibling, you know, or like kind of like
she has people around.
Yeah. Like soul brothers, soul sisters. And we have cousins that we're close to. So you kind of can fill in the gaps that way. And, you know, with everything, there's pros and cons. So I feel like I try to focus on the positive and, you know, acknowledge anything tender about the negative or the con, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So I feel like you get to this sort of closure place family-wise. How did you continue to build life after birth?
Yeah. Well, I feel like life after birth is a child of mine, you know, and she has a life of her own. So I feel like, you know, that definitely factors into the choice of having one, of really having time and space to build this business. So I will say, you know, it started off humbly in 2017 as a support circle, and then I incorporated in 2022 and hired my first associate, who's a master's level clinician, getting her hours to become a licensed marriage and family therapist. And now I have 3 associates at the end of 2025. And I'm, you know, in this stage of my career, I'm really enjoying mentoring and supervising folks who are wanting to specialize in perinatal mental health and work with this population. And I've also noticed, you know, in doing this work for 8 years, that, you know, even though I had my struggles postpartum, and kind of hence life after birth, as I've dug into this work and as I see, you know, so many cases with my associates, that there's such a broad umbrella, and that we do work with those who are dealing with fertility issues, which encompasses grief and loss, as you know, and a lot of secondary infertility too. So it's kind of it's a broader umbrella than when I started.
Right. And I think some of your associates do couples work.
They do.
Right.
Yes.
Which is super helpful.
It is so helpful.
Yeah.
It's a lot when it can be a lot on the relationship when you have a child or children like you who had 2 at the same time, you know? Mm-hmm.
Where do you have a vision for where you would like life after birth to be?
Ooh,
that's
a good question. I mean, I love doing in-person stuff. You know, since the pandemic, we've done mostly telehealth and mostly virtual offerings. And I do a annual mother's retreat in May. And I try to do, you know, pop-up events here and there locally. But I think like long-term pie in the sky would be to have a center of my own. I mean, just working at Women's Space when I first started, I loved, you know, having that space, and being able to offer, you know, one-on-one and groups and events and things like that. So I still have that vision. It's still alive for me. And in the meantime, I just want to keep growing my group practice and maybe hiring some licensed therapists too, and just being able to serve and support more families.
And right now, people can find you to work with you in California only.
For one-on-one and couples, we're beholden to the state of California, but our support groups are joined from anywhere,
all
virtual,
over.
And we have like monthly education sessions too that are virtual.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so both.
I mean, I feel like you're in such a good pattern right now. You got the business going, family life is good. Is there, do you feel like there's anything you're still yearning for to complete that, or does that feel very complete for you?
I mean, I think spiritually, I always try to practice being in gratitude and aspirational. So it's like, yes, I feel so grateful for the work that I get to do. And in fact, I was talking to my daughter, who's almost 9. She'll be 9 this month. I was explaining the Sunday scaries or the Sunday blues to her. And we were talking at lunch yesterday with like my husband, my friend, her only child. We were eating. And my husband was like, oh, I don't want to go back to work. And my friend was like, oh, I kind of feel medium about it. And I was like, I'm actually looking forward to going back to work. Like I love my work. I feel like it's gives me so much life, and I am still just as passionate about it now as I was when I started. So I feel like I'm so grateful for that, and I'm grateful for my family. And yeah, aspirational for, I think, just like continuing to learn and keep my skills sharp. And I miss school sometimes. So I'm like, maybe there's later in life, I'll go back and get my PhD.
Oh, wow.
Maybe write a book. Maybe like there's like things I could do later on in life and kind of reach towards, and like I said, maybe create the center in person. So there's things that long-term kind of keep me waking up in the morning and wanting to kind of learn more and live more, just like being able to have time and space for things that I'm passionate about, that even though I love work, but just to be able to do fun things and spend time with people I love,
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. In closing, is there any advice you were given or that you like to give, that you think about, anything you tell your daughter that you carry with you on a pretty regular basis? Could be a cliche, not a cliche.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I guess like kindness comes to mind. I think a quote that I live by is, be kind to everyone because everyone's fighting some kind of battle. And I think, I'm from the Midwest originally, but I've been in LA over 20 years. And I think I try to hold on to my Midwest, origins. And so I really try to do different practices to keep my vibration high so that I always have kindness to give to others, and even on days I'm having a hard time, just kind of spreading kindness, because I feel like I don't need to tell you guys that the world feels intense right now, and it has for a while. So if we can just do little acts of kindness every day, I mean, it sounds like, we all know, yes, we should do kind things, but if we really do, it just goes such a long way, just like complimenting someone's hair or letting someone go when you're in traffic. Like, people we need those gestures. You never know if some person is like a step away from falling apart or having a nervous breakdown or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you can just do little kind things every day, it goes a long way. Yeah, totally.
Molly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Abby.